Okay, so before the video was stopped, we're trying to set the Flask app, which is like an environment variable. If you're using Windows, you use the word set. If you're on maybe MacBook, you use export. Okay, so set Flask app equal to the name of the file that we are dealing with. Our app is in this model.py. So in your case, you will set it to be whatever you named your file. And the next command we're going to run will be flask db init. So we initialize the database using that. Okay. And this is the normal way to do it, but for some reasons, when I do it, I get this error. So how I then did it without setting the Flask app, but normally it's supposed to set the Flask app. When I try it recently, I get this error. So what I do is instead of setting the other alternative method, instead of set Flask app because of this, I'll write the command like this. So Flask app, then the file. Then I go to db in this way. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay, so normally you set it as an environment variable, but because I was having that challenge, I now did it like this and run. Okay, I need to enter the correct location. Probably that's why it didn't work the first day. So let me Flask class. Okay, cd into database. Okay. Oh, okay. This one. Okay. So let me just try and set the environment variable now first. Let me see. Maybe because I'm in the right place. Then let me try to do the other command. Still give that error. Okay, so then the alternate one is this. So now when I run this command, there's an error in my file app.config. So I need to go and correct it. So this should be please config. It should be config. Save the file. Then I run it again. We'll have another error. Let me see. I said the URI. Is there a mistake somewhere? Okay, database. Database. Okay, database URI. Okay, I think I had an spelling error there. So I save the file and then I run it again. I guess I'm not mistake. Let me just check. Okay. .db. Yeah, okay. It should be .db. Hmm, okay. It's saying that instead of me to just put the file name, actually, I should also make the path an absolute path. Okay, so to do that, I would then have my base directory. I'll import OS for the operating system. Okay, because the operating system is going to help us to get the absolute path. So 1, 2, 3 relative path. Ah, okay. I'm even going fast. Sorry. Let me do some Control Z now. So it's actually saying I should have 1, 2, 3 and relative path. So I need to add one more. Let me try that. Save it. All right. Another error. Why are there so many errors? Now this error is attribute error, foreign key. So let me check the place where I put foreign key. Maybe I did not spell it well. Okay, I see. This should be a capital letter key. Sometimes it happens. I was just writing all these things, so there could be errors. So everything is okay now. It has done the fact initialization. How did I know it's okay? Here, you see this folder appeared, migrations. Okay, you can see some stuff that came with it in the migrations. Okay, so because all the errors were corrected and then we have it working in our migration. Okay, I thought he wanted me to find an absolute path, but then that's okay. It's 3 lines, relative path, or you have 4 lines, absolute path. Let me go back to that error. Confused me a bit. So if you look at it, you will see it here. So 3 lines, relative path, 4 paths, 4 lines, and absolute path. I wanted to go and do absolute path, but no, it should be related. I can do it with relative path, so that's it. And then you see that everywhere where I misspelled a keyword, it threw up an error and I had to correct it. So when you see errors too, when you're doing your own, it's not for you to be scared. Just follow the error and make the necessary correction. So now everything is running. So you can see it has generated all of them and you see the migrations. So we have initialized our migration. And like I said, because my environment variable was not setting for some reasons, I used Flask dash dash app and pointed it to the app before db init. Okay. Now after initializing, which we've just done, the next thing we need to do is hold on. Flask migrate. I can then go Flask db migrate. Let me, sorry, let me clear my terminal so you see it well. Flask db, after Flask db init, so you do Flask db migrate. And you can supply a message, just kind of similar to what we do when we are doing a commit message with GitHub or Git. So with dash M, and my message can be initial migration. So this is the initial migration. Subsequently, if I make modifications, for instance, I may come and let me just go with this first and let's see. Okay, still, I'm having an error for the Flask application, so I'll still keep maintaining it. I'll put the app. I'll look into why it's not working later, but then I can add the app and put my file name, then GB migrate. So now it has done the first migration. The initial migration has been done. So you can see it. It has done the initial migration. Now, I could want to change my code. For instance, when we look again at our models, there is something limiting, which is this. The way I configured it, a father will have only one child in the system. He can't have more than one child, but in reality, a father can have two, three children. Okay, but we are just in this case of this example, it's just one-to-one relationship between father and child, and I establish that relationship in child, which is this one-to-one, one child to one father. But in reality, it could be one child. I mean, one child to one father to many child. Let me put it as many children, more than one child. So that way, instead of putting this relationship definition in child here, I would have put it in father, and I will not put use list for, so that from father you can have more than one children. So let's say I want to upgrade my code and make that correction, but I've already done the initial migration, which simply means I want to change the database behavior and the way it is structured. With migrate, it's easy. You repeat the same code. Okay, but you don't need to initialize again because we've already initialized. You just do another migration. And maybe when I'm doing that migration, I can add the message and say, okay, corrected this or updated that. Now, after the migration, the last step, let me first clear the screen. You can now still say Flask db. I have to be putting app db model.py. And then this one now is db upgrade. So this should complete it. So that's it. So I've migrated it and upgraded it. Now what Flask has done now, it has effected all of this into the database. So you find the database here in this instance, db data.db. Okay. If I change something like I was trying to explain, all I need to do is to run the migrate command, which was this one. Let me go up. This one here. And I'll just put a message that signifies the update I made. It will create another migration, and then I'll upgrade it. It will then upgrade the database which is in this instance folder. Now, the thing is, if you don't have Flask Migrate in your app, to make this change will be very difficult. It's still possible, but for example, you may need to go deep directly into the database and do the update. It's quite manual, but you see, Migrate makes everything easy. With those three commands, you can just, make an update. So now that we have done everything, it's okay. It has been upgraded. Our database is now fine. So far, any question? I hope we're not confused.
No, no, no. I'm not confused.
Okay. So now we'll just write another file to just do some manipulations with our database. Okay, so the next file will be, I'll call it, what should I call this one now? DB model by actions.py, just actions.py. Now, in this, we are going to try to create entries into our database and see how it will flow. So in this file, I can say from DB model, which is the one we just created everything. I'll now say import the database, import child, import toy, and we import father. So basically, let me close all this one. I don't need. So basically what I'm saying is from this file here, I'm importing the app. I'm also importing child, importing toy, importing father because I want to use them over there. So now I'll create children. So to create children using what we learned before, I can say Francis, now we call to child. So this is Francis. Now the other child we have is Joy. I can just say Joy. Joy should be equal to. So now why am I just putting Joy? Remember, if you go back here, to create a child, all you need to supply is a name. Okay? All we need to supply the init method for a child is just the name. That's why we're just putting only the name. Now that we've created these children, we need to add them to the database. So to add them to the database, db.session.add all, because there are more than one. .add is for one. And put it in a list. So I have Francis and I have Joy. Okay. And after adding, I need to commit. Now, mind you, all this code where I'm just trying to create this way. You could be running them in terminal live, but we're just doing that so that we'll have it in a file and see what we are doing. But then I think there's something I need to do for it to work. Let me see this one. Yeah, I need to put it in this with block with app.app context. Even though it's going to give me an error. If I try to do this, it will give that error. That means I should import app. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with it. So you know what? Let's run it so we'll see the error before I fix it. We'll see the error when we run. Now that we've added these two, let's check if they are in the database. So then child dot query dot all. So this will get all children that are in the database. Okay. Then we'll print it. Now I'll say Francis. I'm going to take Francis from the database. If you remember this command, we talked about it in the last previous class. I can get all the children in child table whose names are Francis. In this case, it's just one. So, but the first is the first one I want. One, it could be a list if there are more than one. But when I say dot first, it's just the first entry. If you want to see all of them, you could say dot all. And then if you want to see the first of all of them, you could still then use normal index into a list. But then I'll just use dot first since we have that. So now I'll pick Francis and I'm going to give him that his father. So the reason I have to go and pick Francis from the database, even though I have Francis here, I didn't use this Francis because when I instantiated this Francis as a child, it does not have an ID. It has not been added to the database. After we add it to the database, then it has an ID, right, which is the primary key of that entry. So now I've picked Francis and I want to do the father. I need the ID. So the father now would be Thierry. That's how you spell it. Saka. Let me call Saka. Saka is the name of the father, but let it become small letter. The father now be equals to a father. To create a father the way we wrote it, you put the name of the father, and since it must be tied to a child, so now this is Francis's father. So I can then say Francis dot ID. Okay, so that's why I needed to query the database to get Francis first, so I can pick the ID. Because when it enters into the database now, let's assume we don't know the ID because we know it's one because it's the first child. But if we didn't know, then I needed to check what his ID is in the database, pick it, and got the ID. I could have just put one there. Then let me give him some toys. Some toys. So toy one now be equal to this is a toy. So toy. And to make a toy, you need the name of the toy. So what we said was his first toy there is car. We call it car. Or a car. And it will use Francis ID. Because whenever you're creating a toy, you need an ID. So let's go back and look at it in our model. you find out that whenever you are creating an instance of toy, you need two things. You need the name and then need the ID of the owner, which is the child ID. In this case, it's Francis, so it's Francis's ID. Then I can have toy 2. And then toy 2 now was a toy gun. The toy gun. It still belongs to Francis. So it's his ID. Okay. Now I'm going to add all of them to the database. Add all of them to the database and the db.session dot add all. Remember, when you do add all, you take a list. So what am I going to add? Saka. I'll add Saka toy 1, toy 1, and toy 2. You see, they are going into different tables, but I'm adding all of them. Oh. Then db.session.commit. That's not awful. It's cartoon of only for them. Maybe the battery's gone. Like the phone has run out of the battery. No, it's deep. But let's go inside. That's not work. So now, one more thing we need to do is test Francis dot this method. Francis dot my toys. Let me just say, instead of calling it my toys, I'll just say show toys, right? Show toys. So let me save it. S. And here, Francis dot show underscore toys. So I'll call that method. So we'll see what toys it has. Let me save the file. Now let's go back to our terminal, clear. And then run these actions.py and then see how it goes. Python. ACT. So you see this error I'm getting. Runtime error, unbound message from none, runtime error, working outside of application context. That is why I need to wrap all of this in with app context. That's what I was trying to do before. Yeah, so we did it in the other class. With app context, okay. But then I need to import app. Everything is fine, so I save it. Then let's run it. Hopefully there's no error. Okay. We've run it. Can we see what's shown on the screen?
Yes.
So you see that when we ran it, the first thing we did, we added these guys to this, and then we printed all the children. And it said, okay, child's name is Francis. Remember the way we said here, we defined it here as the REPRO method. Say if self.father, then you print this one. If not, you print it. Child's name is dash, and we do not have father's name. So then you see that's what happening. When we printed the children, we printed child's name is Francis, and we do not have Francis father's name. The other name, child's name is Joy, and we do not have father's name. Here are my toys. So this is where I printed Francis's toys. So let's go back and see there. At this point where we printed the children, we've not added father. I should have put a print statement after adding the father. So you will see that when you print again, Francis will have a father. Since we added the father with his ID, he will have a father. And then we added some toys, committed all of them. Francis does show toys. Now, if I'm going to run it again, it will create another Francis, it will create another Joy. Okay, because in the database, they already exist. After I ran it the first time, I've created Francis and I've created Joy. They are in the database. If I run this file again, it will go ahead and create another Francis and another Joy in database, which I don't want. So this second time I want to run it, I will just comment out all of these. Okay. And then I'll query it. Yes, I want that. I'll get Francis. That's okay. He already has a father because I've done that. If I do this to add another one. Now, if you don't want it to keep adding each time I run this thing, one of the ways is I will come to my model and make it that the name is unique. For instance, if I set name to be unique, so there can only be one Francis. The time you attempt to put the second Francis, then there will be an error, right? Because Francis already exists, there will be an error. But the way it is, because there will be no error, to just add another Francis. Like if we go back to our Excel, we had two Joy. The only thing is the next Francis that will enter, his own ID will not be one. It will still add Francis. We didn't have a third Joy, so let me just use it. So if I run this file again without committing it, what will tend to happen is there will be a Francis here and there will be another Joy. There will be 3 and 4. Okay, so it won't spoil anything, but I'm just trying to let you know. So when you do this file and you're trying to run it again and again, these guys keep adding because that's the instruction. If I run it again, that's the instruction. But I'm trying to comment it so that it won't add them again. Then we can still query and get all the children because they're already there. They will be there. We can still get Francis. We can see his father has already been added. So let me just comment this one. These toys have been given to him. If I do it again, they'll be repeated. So even down to all these commits, all of them, like this should be comments. But now I want to show his toys. And before showing the toy, I would like to print all the children. So you will see the difference of when his father was added, how it will print. Okay, so I'll save the file, then run it. So you can see the first print. Oh, okay. Even the first time already. Yeah. Because it has already been added. The father has already been added. Even the first time I printed it here to check, you can already see child's name is Francis and father's name is Saka. So Francis has a father already. But if it was printed, if I had put this print initially, you find out that you would have child's name is Francis and would not have his father. Then after you added the father, you will then see this one. Child's name is Francis and father's name is Saka, relative to the way we put it in the print out there. And then you can now see the list of his toys. So Francis does show toys. When you run show toys to bring out all the toys, you can see more than one toys are tied to him. So because time have gone, we'll stop here. Then the next thing which we'll do from the next class is we will then begin to tie all of these models we have created with roots and HTML files. So instead of doing it this way I'm just doing action. It's kind of like to test. This action.py file is just a test to test our database to just see how it's working. Like I said, we could have done all these things in the terminal too. So just do it in a file and run it this way. So I'm going to uncomment this file so that when you see it in the GitHub, because I always keep all these files, I'll keep all of them for us in GitHub. The file for today, you can go and run it yourself. Okay, and see how it happens on your computer. So at this point, is there any question? Does anyone have a question?
Okay, just to I want to go through them again.
Yeah, you just need to do it. These things need to happen. You need to get errors. You need to correct the errors. Don't be afraid of error. If you can't correct it, you message me. We correct it together. That's where the learning is now. Because this one now is code along. As we are doing, you're doing. So you understand Flask. So now we're just trying to make sure that you understand database and some database manipulation. You could also think of some things to do. You must not do only the one we did in class. Can say, okay, let me add another child. Let me see how it works. Let me delete a child. All those things. It's for you to play around with your own database. So in the absence of question, let's call it a day now.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope the video will be available so that when one is practicing, do side by side with the video.
Yes. I'll make it available. The next class will
Okay.
go to the other side. Okay. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. In fact, we miss you so much.
I miss you guys too.
Thank you. Welcome back.